Hello lovelies, welcome back to the channel. This week we are going to make Ariel's sparkly, color-changing dress that she wears when she's emerging from the water onto the ocean beach at the end of The Little Mermaid. This is actually one of my absolute favorite moments of the whole movie. I don't know what it is, but there's something about just like how sparkly her dress is and how it goes from like light to dark as she comes out of the water and like her hair flowing in the wind. It's just magical, and I really absolutely love this dress and this like idea of, I don't know, I just love it. So that's what we're doing this week. Let's just head straight over to the table and talk about the plan and how we're gonna make this dress. All right, so let's talk materials and the pattern. I'm going to be using this pattern, but no sleeves, because I really want this little bit here and then the long skirt pieces. And I don't know how full I want it, so I don't know if we're gonna use all of them, because it does look like on the back there might be a few extra pieces that we might not need. I'm not 100% sure yet. I got this used. There's markings on it already, and I actually didn't even open it to see if the pieces I need. It looks like it was uncut. Yeah, it was uncut. Well, okay, we'll get to the pattern here in a few minutes, but I wanted to talk fabric real quick. So I was originally hoping to buy a color shifting light pink to purple fabric, and I'll show you what arrived. It's definitely a light pink to blue, and I don't know, it doesn't look as, I guess, like cool toned as it looked in the photos, and I don't really love it. Like, it's not, I just don't love it. And I mean, I love it for like other things, but like it's not really what I wanted, and I'm pretty bummed out about that because it took forever to get here. It took 6 weeks, I think. And then on top of that, like, it was $100 for 5 yards. So that's not really my favorite. Luckily, I found this online and I thought it was really pretty, and it's a little bit more cool toned. It's still not like perfectly cool toned, but like it's definitely purple and lavenderish, which, you know, is more of the vibe of this like dress anyway. So I got this. I have 5 yards of it, and this was only $45 for 5 yards, so I don't feel super awful. I will use this eventually on something. I just don't know what. Maybe I'll make this dress again out of that, and we'll go from there. But the only big dilemma I have is I could only get 4 yards of this lining fabric. So I might piece it when it comes to the skirt. We might see. It does say that I need 5 yards for this pattern. We'll just have to see, I guess, when we are cutting it out and making it. I don't mind piecing, and I will explain piecing in this video. I will, like, if I have to do it. If I don't have to do it, obviously I won't. I will also explain how we should be using sequins, so sequin fabric, so that you don't break your machine or needles and stuff once we get to that. I think first, let's cut out our pattern pieces and kind of see what we're working with here. I'm trying to make this in 2 days. We don't know that it'll happen. I will also say that I'm going to use this. I'm going to sew up this part first, the lining part, before I even cut the sequin fabric, so that I can make a quote-unquote mock-up. It's not really a mock-up. It's kind of a mock-up because I want to wear this over my corset, and I just need to do a fitting. So we're going to make this one first, and then we'll cut into all of this once we have that information. All right, so the next step is to serge all the edges of the lining, and I added 10 inches to all 4 back panels so that I could create a little train at the end of it. Basically, like, once I get the lining and the skirt together tomorrow. That's tomorrow's task. I will like cut a nice little train, and I'll try to show that. We'll see how that goes. But first I want to serge all these edges, and then I'll start sewing up all these panels and do a fitting to see if it fits. If I don't have to make any fit adjustments, we're just going to cut right into that fabric. I'll talk all about that, but let's overlock and sew together. Yay! I also decided that I don't need the facing pieces because I'm technically doing an entire lining, and I guess we're going to be bag lining this in a way. We'll figure that part out. I mean, it's going to be bag lining, but so I don't need the facing pieces, so I'm just going to put them back. Hi friends, before we get this fitting started, I just wanted to show you the corset that I will be wearing underneath this gown. This corset was actually made for my book, Cosplay Foundations, which is available for pre-order now on Amazon. And with the purchase of the book, you will get complete instructions on how to make this corset and a pattern on how to make this corset. This is a small little advertisement for my book because I worked really hard on it and I want to share it with you all, but also I just wanted to be fully transparent that this is the garment that I'm going to be wearing underneath the gown. I am wearing this for two reasons. One, I hate bras. Hate them, don't like wearing them. I like corsets over bras. Two, because the corset will create just this little bit of definition. That's the silhouette that I like. Even in hoop skirts and all that other stuff, I prefer to have just a tiny bit of space between my bust and my hip, or in my waist, because, well, I don't really have a lot of bust. Okay, let's get to the fitting. So obviously first I'm putting it on inside out because this is the lining for the entire thing. And so putting it on inside out is just helpful. Okay, so it's not perfectly safety pinned in the back, but it fits. It doesn't fit super tight, which isn't like the worst thing in the world. I'm trying to see like how much space I have back there. I'm thinking for these side seams, I could just take them in another 1/4 of an inch. That makes a 1/2 inch. Yeah, a 1/4 of an inch. And then for the back, for the zipper, I might just give myself a lot of space. Like a 3/4 of an inch, which makes me happy because zippers are just a freaking nightmare. And this one is like this, there's not a lot on this costume, so like I can't screw up the zipper, you know? I mean I can, but I don't really wanna. You know what, no, yeah, we're gonna take this in a 1/4 of an inch on each side. We're gonna show some leg. And by leg, I mean leggings. The thigh placement is a little low. Like, I know that I'm a very modest person, but I feel like maybe I can bring it up to here. Oh yeah, that's much better. Although this does get folded in, so maybe we will find happy medium. Yeah, we'll find a happy medium. Well, that is much better. It's still not great, but we will have the puffy stuff here and in the back, so whatever. The corset will be seen through. Well, actually, we'll see because of the sequins. Who knows? But even if it is, I'm not super worried. And then I did take the leg up. Move back. I did take the leg up, and it does look much better. So here we are. All right, so now I'm gonna cut fabric, and then we'll get into talking about sewing with sequins fabric.
Are you saying sequin or
Sequins dress.
sequin dress? I think is what you mean.
See what I did there? It's sequin fabric, but RuPaul's Drag Race fans. Anyway, I think Toby's home, so I'm gonna ask him to help me get out of this, and I have to make dinner, so I will chat with y'all tomorrow. Okay, So real quick, I'll talk a little bit about cutting this fabric and then I'll talk about sewing this fabric. So a big disclaimer, you can totally use your fabric scissors on cutting this fabric. With fabric scissors, it's important to make sure that you are getting your scissors sharpened based on like how often you use them. I probably should get mine sharpened every 9 months to a year because I cut fabric a lot. But when you get them sharpened, they should also be oiling your like all your parts and making sure everything is clean and ready for you. So with that being said, these are fairly new scissors. I want to say that they're 3 months old, maybe less than that. So I'm pretty confident that they will not only be able to cut this fine, they won't really acquire any damage. You can see I've already actually cut the other fabric. I just wanted to use these smaller pieces to talk about this because it's a little bit easier. So this specific sequin fabric is not a stretch fabric. So that's nice because I hate sewing stretch. So one less thing I have to worry about. But basically cutting this out, I'm just going to cut it out like I normally would. So that was a lot slower than I would normally cut fabric because I have to close, open, close. Like you can't like, it's not like butter. And I am going to wipe these off when I am done with them. I will say these are from Famore. I do have an affiliate code below if you would like to purchase new sewing scissors, but I will also say they do blade sharpening, and you can send your blades in and they will sharpen them. They also can like oil it and everything. And if you would like more educational, anything like more scissor education, they have been posting a lot to their TikTok lately. So I highly recommend if you would like to learn just more about scissors. It's actually pretty neat. I think it's really neat. Anyway, go check them out. I'm gonna cut the rest of this out and then we'll talk about sewing. All right, so let's talk about sewing this fabric now. So the first, and this is always the option with anything and everything that you will ever sew, is you can hand sew it. Hand sewing it will make it a little bit easier on the fabric. It will make it so that you will not run into like plastic bits or metal bits of the sequins. However, it will take a decade. So if that is the route that you want to go, that's always an option. However, I would like to machine sew this. Now, I've already done a test. Actually, hold on. Okay, so this is the back seam of the dress, and I stitched this together with a 90-14 sharp needle. These are the ones that they suggest you use for silk. Basically, sharps are just a lot sharper than universal. Yeah. So I sewed this, did no adjustments, just stitched the two panels together, called it a day. So that's an option because these sequins in this are honestly not super dense. Like it looks like it from like a little bit like afar, but when you get really close, you can actually see all of the netting, which is why it was really important for me to have a lining. Now I know, and that's also why I chose a lining that matches so well versus like just lining it with anything. So that is something that is an option. I wear safety glasses when I sew sequin fabric because you can break a needle, and I'll keep a track of how many needles I break, especially on these neck pieces that are gonna be sewn together and then sewn to the neck of the dress and then sewn onto the lining. Like there's just a lot that my needle and my machine has to push through. I will also have to just clean my machine no matter what. Like after doing this, my machine's getting cleaned because this is, you can see where, like can you see in the camera? Yeah, you can see the little speckles everywhere. You can see on my hands. This is getting everywhere. I'm not going to clean anything until the dress is done because for every seam that is exposed, more of these will fall off. So there's no point in cleaning until I'm done. So I might go a little crazy making this dress, but hey, you know what? Who cares? All right, so the other option, if you have a more dense fabric, which I did this technique on my bell gown that I made back in 2018, you can go in and actually remove the sequins. I'm going to try to do it in this. You can remove the sequins everywhere you plan to sew. To do this, you literally just find some thread and you can seam rip it. I like to use my embroidery scissors. These are my these are my favorite. These are actually my favorite scissors, I think. These and the applique scissors are the absolute best. Like, I just love the little hooked needle, the little hooked edge, and you just go in and you find thread and you start, cutting without cutting the tool. And this will take ages. This does take a while, but you will have less likelihood of ruining a needle, less likelihood of ruining your machine. And honestly, like, if you did this in front of like the TV watching some awesome historical dramas, I'm sure it will go very fast. So, whatever works for you. But that is an option. And then basically what you'll do is you will create a seam, and in that little seam line, you will sew your piece together. Now, you would do this after you cut out your fabric. So like, if I were to do it on this piece, I would be like, all right, where is 5/8 of an inch inside of this? And then I would start trimming all of these 5/8 of an inch inside of this fabric. So that is how you can sew sequin fabric together without hurting your tools, machines, and whatnot. And again, I'm not really hurting my machine by sewing this together, but I do understand that some people are fearful of that kind of stuff. So I'm just sharing my tips and my knowledge. And if you work with sequin fabric a lot, this is probably your best bet, especially thick sequin fabric. Like, if you have huge sequins, beads, like all of that kind of stuff, it is really just worth it to just take them out and just do it. I think that's everything. Anyway, just wanted to throw that out there. All right, so I hand stitched the shoulders together because this is just too much. It's going to break my machine if I stitch through it. I don't know if it'll break my machine, but let's be honest, like, it makes a really sad, scary noise. We don't want that. So this is our little like whoop-de-doo, swoop-de-doo in the front. Man, I didn't gather it precisely. I should have done a pleat instead. That would have been cuter, but you know what? Let's just go with it. Now I'm going to add the zipper just to the lining because I'm going to hand sew the zipper. So what my plan is, sew it to the lining. I'm going to sew the neckline of the skirt and then pin the skirt down towards the hem and clean up the hem. Then after I've cleaned up the hem, I'm going to sew the lining to the skirt right sides together and turn it right side out through a sleeve hole. And then all that will be left is to clean up the sleeve holes, which I'll do by hand, and the zipper, which I'll do by hand. So that's the plan. I'd like to get this done in the next hour and a half to 2 hours. We'll see how that goes. All right, so tonight when I am done cooking dinner and eating, I'm actually gonna hand sew all of this down, and I'm gonna put a hook in right there, and then I'm gonna come to these sleeves and do the same. So I will fold this in, fold that in, and wow, autofocus, let's go. So like I'll fold this in and the inside in just a tad and hand stitch that down. Luckily, I'm gonna be really honest, the neckline, when I was sewing it, busted 3 needles because of how many layers of this there is. She's fallen off, so she looks a little lopsided, but who cares right now? So anyway, the point I'm getting to is we can hide all the ugly neckline with this beautiful little droopy lady. We've got to just clean up this hem. That's the last machine thing I've got to do. So I'm going to now pin everything from this slit down, and then we will cut the back train and pin it and sew it all down. So we're getting there. Yay! She's gonna be beautiful, guys.